information knowledge management. All right, so today we're just going to do an hour. Last week we got, remember? So today we're just going to do the last part of an hour, just to finish off on some of the question papers that we last week we're doing. This one, did we really finish everything? Yeah, we did. All right, so let's see here. This one, I think maybe able to do. I think most of the things you guys, I think you already know. So what I'm going to do, I won't be writing anything on the Word document, but definitely I will be showing you from the study guide where those things will be. All right, give me a moment. Oh, the study guide. Open my study guide here. Let me just open the study guide so that we are able to search the things. All right. Okay, let's see. All right, sorry guys. Let's see, where is the study guide? Okay. All right, so basically that is like how you that is how questions that we've been doing for the past, I think, 2 weeks. That is to give you a glimpse of how your exam will be like. So let me share now. Let me share the. Okay, perfect. All right, so this one we did it already. Let's focus on this one. All right, so this one is talking about smart cities. We're not going to read this because sometimes the case study might not just giving you a storyline. So sometimes the questions that are going to be asked might not be things that are within the case study itself. Though you need to answer those questions in relation to the case study, that doesn't mean those things are mentioned within the case study. So we're just going to skip reading this first time, but let's go on question 1. Let's talk about 5 vulnerabilities of the interconnected world. All right, so basically, let me just give just a brief on smart cities. I think I once saw a certain article. I'm not so sure from which newspaper or from where exactly, but I think South African. Okay, let me not say South African government because it's specifically the city of Joburg. So the city of Joburg is planning or building a smart city. Right, I'm not so sure if they've already started, like the plans, but I remember the city of Joburg, in collaboration with the government, they of course they wanted to create what is called a smart city. So basically, smart cities, these are cities where everything will be connected. It consists of what we call Internet of Things, where things are connected onto the internet, right? So I think some of you guys, I don't know if you have these gadgets at home. I think some of you guys, you know, fridges, refrigerators, internet. These days we've got what we call smart TV. It's connected to the internet. Nowadays, they are. I'm not so sure if the technology is here in South Africa, but in the US, they've got homes that are called smart homes, right? You know Alexa. You said, Alexa, do this. You know, Alexa, do that. So some houses are like that. Switch on the lights, right? You don't need to wake up from the bed and, you know, like literally switch on the light, right? You can just speak. Then the lights are on. You can speak. The lights are off. You can say, you can say. So it's more like everything within the house is connected. So that's the concept, right? Now this concept of homes being connected is now taken to a larger level, right? Or it is now upgraded to a city, where everything within a city is now connected, right? So you can see from here they're talking about city infrastructures being interconnected for monitoring, control, and automation. And they are what we call intelligent transportation, public and private, where we have access of web, right, through interconnected data from GPS, right? Then so this data will be taken from what is called big data, where they have sensors, and they will be collecting all those type of things. So smart cities, basically, they have to create new ways to connect citizens with citizen businesses, and then improve IT operations and increase transparency. So basically, computing will be it's actually a very important thing, right? When you want to make smart cities, because remember, we're talking about big data. Big data is not data that you can put in a flash. This can be terabytes of data. So normally people, when there is big data, they store it on what is called cloud computing services, like the likes of Azure. I'm not so sure. I think some of you guys that are working, maybe you use Amazon Web Services, or you use Microsoft Azure, or maybe you use IBM Cloud. So all of those things, it's cloud computing services, right? So basically, that's the notion where everything is connected. Like everything will be connected. So there are some countries, like if you go to Japan, I know it's one of the most advanced countries in the whole world. I think they might have places where there are these smart cities. If you go to Europe, you might find maybe one or two places of smart cities. US, I'm not so sure, but it's concept that this is the concept that the Western countries have been talking about for a while now. So I know sometimes here in Africa we are a little bit behind. Those South Africa is a bit advanced than all countries in South Africa, but I mean in Africa, but still there's that we lag behind, right? So now the first question is, they want us to elaborate 5 vulnerabilities of interconnected world, because the problem is, as long as something is connected to the internet, right, hackers, there is a possibility that information can be compromised. So now that's why you see, whenever you are to connect your laptop to the internet, you must have an antivirus, right? You must have internet security. You must have antiviruses at work. You have what we call firewalls and so forth. I think maybe some of you guys, you have heard some of these things from the IT department and so forth. Firewalls and what do you call it? Intrusion detection systems and so forth, right? They are used as a security measure, right? So that you don't suffer from the vulnerabilities of connecting to the internet. So that's what they're talking about. So basically, when you go back to the start, What we are looking for here is vulnerability. All right, so obviously this is what we're talking about. So vulnerability is now obviously we're talking about internet vulnerability, right? Because this is interconnected, Internet of Things. So first part is what we call malicious software. So when we're talking about malicious software, we're talking about viruses, we're talking about worms, we're talking about Trojan horses, we're talking about spyware. Let me elaborate on each of these data. So a virus, right? A virus is it's more like the viruses. They come in various forms, right? So it's more like it's an external. It's not something that's part of your system. So you have to download something, or you need to be connected to something. Normally, you have to download a certain file, and then when it is within your, that's when the magic happens. So basically, it's more like a person who contacts, right, a virus, right, or like COVID, or like HIV, or like Ebola, right? A virus is something that is not part of your system, but somehow it gains. We might not know the way in which you got the access, but somehow it finds its way within your system, and then it starts to manipulate your system, right? Your immune system. That's when you start to see the symptoms now, because it's now manipulating your immune system. So that's the same thing again with the virus. So it's something that is not part of the computer, right? But it's someone who designed it in such a way that when it gets access to your computer, it starts to manipulate, right? Because sometimes people, they put viruses so that hackers can have access to your computer, right? Because remember, they're so clever. So you download the file, those websites where you're told, no, don't go to these websites and so forth. You can just go there, you download something. You might not even know that you have downloaded maybe a file, right? With a virus there. And then the next thing you start to see that your computer is acting fine, right? So that is a virus. And then there's what we call worms, right? Worms are they are similar to viruses, right? But they will go on to create additional file copies on a computer and generate emails to other computers with an infected file attached. So it's more like it behaves like a virus, right? Maybe these things, they behave differently, but at the end of the day, they just manipulate your system. Even those Trojan horses, right? They just manipulate your system so that the hackers can have access to your computer, right? And they take in information that they are not supposed to do. So here they've given us maybe some examples, right, of some of these malicious things, right? So like, for example, here is what they call Caesar.ftp, right? So it's a worm. So it first appeared in May 11. So what it will do, it spread it over the internet by attacking random IP addresses. So when they're talking about random IP address, it's more like an address that your computer has on the internet. So it's more like we call it a global village, right? I think you've heard that term. So it depicts more like a real life village. A village, it consists of a community of people where people live, right? And each household, they've got a compound with an address, right? So obviously, if someone has to write a letter, right, maybe it's coming from one neighborhood to another neighborhood, The only way they can identify the place where it's supposed to go is through the address. So that's the same thing again that happens on the internet. So every computer that accesses the internet, it is given an IP address, right? So that IP address is the one that, maybe if you are a hacker, the cyber police, they can locate that the guy who hacked this is in that house. They can check from the IP addresses. That's why you come to find out that people that really know how to hack, they hack after hidden their IP addresses. So this worm, what it would do is it would spread over the internet, right, and then attack random IP addresses, and then runs a script that downloads the worm by using file transfer protocol, what is called the FTP. So just imagine you download something, right? Then what it does is it runs a script in the background. You don't even know about it. It is running a script, and then it downloads the worm without your knowledge, and then that worm starts to do things behind your back, right? So we call Claire's, which is an email worm, right? So it came around 2002, delivered in an email containing random subject line and message body targeting all addresses in the Windows address book, right? So what it does is it attempts to disable antivirus software and drops another virus in the user system that tries to infect executable files there across file systems, right? Then this startpage.fh, right? Trojan horse. It was a spyware that attempts to entice users to visit a website where additional malware can be installed. Can you see? Sometimes these days when you go on certain websites, right, you will see that there are some websites where you can say, hey, if you want this, click on this one. The moment you click there, the person will be done. You get, worms, you get viruses. But when those things come to your computer, you won't even notice. But later on now, you will start to see with the behavior. Machine is not slow, it's not behaving in a weird way. There's what they call a ransomware. Let me see if it's there. Okay, it's not there. But it's part of spyware, right? It's part of spyware. So what ransomware does? Let me check on spyware. Did they talk about it? They only talked about spyware. Okay. All right. So basically, what ransomware does is, I can give an example, and I'm not sure if it ever happened in this country, but I know of a certain country where there was this other guy who penetrated the website of a university, and then they said, if you want access back, they got into the university system and they found a loophole. They got into the university system. Then somehow the administrators, right, the IT department of that university got access to everything, right? So now the hackers were now having access, and then they said to the university, if you want access back of everything of the website, the entire website says, pay us this amount in Bitcoin. If you don't, you will never have access. So they call it ransomware. Hackers, they use it to get ransom. That's where it comes from, because it involves a ransom. They want you to pay something in order for you to get your information. So this is now at an institution level. At a personal level, what you can do, this one I experienced it firsthand. It was last year, I think in beginning of the year 2021. Somehow, I think I went on a very suspicious website. I think so, because I think I was trying to download a software, right? But some of the softwares, sometimes they are sold, right? And then as Africans, sometimes we want to find cheap things. You want to find the same software, but you don't want to pay. might be some websites, right, that might give those softwares for free, but some of them might have malicious content. So I want to believe that's what happened during that time. And then what happened is there is something that I downloaded. I think it was a ransomware. Then what it did is it transformed every document in my to a certain file that was written COOS, right? And then they were saying for you to change that document to the original document, right? I had to pay a certain amount of money to buy the key. So it's more like they've locked, even if it was a file or a video or an audio, right? It was just changed the format to COOS. Then they said, we've locked your files. If you want back your files, you have to pay, right? So unfortunately, I had to lose some of the information, right? Start from scratch. So you see that it's some things that happen, right, when you are connected to the internet. That's the reason why people are encouraged to have antiviruses and what they call security, right? I know some of these guys are like, this antivirus is, people, they've got a tendency of, when the antivirus says update me, say that this thing is bothering me, then they deactivate it. Yes, you might survive for a while, but the day that you really get into crossfire, that's when you see that those things are really important. So a part of so here we talked about actually four of them, right? So we talked about viruses, worms, trojans, or Trojan horse, spyway, and then I talked of something else on top, which is called a, right? I'm not so sure if they talked about it here, but it's let me see. It's something that ransom. Okay, so they didn't talk about ransomware here. Let's go back to where. All right. So another one also is hackers, right? So hackers now, these guys they can do that do like what I'm telling you, the ransomware. They'll contact you because they now have access to your computer. Then they will send you a message. They'll send you a message, my friend. You know what we have done for us to give you back your, give us this amount of money, right? So basically, those are the hackers that do that. Then there's what we call spoofing and sniffing. So these are two other methods which hackers and criminals use to gain improper and illegal access computer systems. So spoofing is a common way to steal financial information through fake websites. So here I'm going to give you practical examples so that you see that these are not just things. Because remember, at the end of the day, you need to understand what you'll be talking about, right? It's not only about writing the exam and passing, because some of these things you're going to meet them in real life. So that's why sometimes I'm using practical examples so that you really understand. So there's a certain, I think you guys, what do you call it? Airbnb, right? Airbnb. It's more like the houses, right? Some of you guys maybe we have never heard of Airbnb, right? It's more like the boat, but for houses, right? Where maybe you're just going you're going to Cape Town, or maybe for a holiday, or maybe business trip. You don't want to go to a hotel or maybe a lodge, right? What you can do, you can go on Airbnb. You find someone who's renting their house for you to use for that particular weekend. So it's actually a house the person that will be living in, but like the house where you are right now. If some of you are at home, right? So you just want extra income, just like a person who's got an extra car or maybe one car, but they just say, oh, okay, from home, I'm not using my car that much. Let me just use it for both. Just employ a driver. While you are not using the car, it's generating income for you. That's the same thing. The person is living in a house, but they see, oh, okay, there's need for me to get an extra income. My house is very nice. If people come here, they will have, the place, right? Listed on Airbnb. If there's anyone that's coming to, maybe Centurion, or maybe where I'm staying here in East Rand, right? You just listed on Airbnb. So what happens now with spoofing is there's a certain time, I think it was in Dubai, right, where there were these guys that made a fake website of Airbnb, right? And then it was exactly the same as Airbnb. And the funny thing is that website, they maybe a place where they will say contact us, right? And then you would start to talk with the operators, or maybe the people from. So they actually, the guys had actually found someone who acted as if there was she was from Airbnb. So there was this other lady who was looking for a house to rent, because she was supposed to, I think, to go to Dubai maybe for a holiday and so on. Then she somehow she landed on that page. I don't know how, but she landed on the page, and then she made she was about to make the payment, and then the person from that website called them and then says, okay, give me your bank card details and blah 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 blah, so that we can go on with the payment, right? Once that girl gave them the credit card information, they stole the money, right? Stole the money, and the website is fake. Only to realize later that the lady was duped, right? So they were using what is called spoofing, because these guys, they want money, right? So they make fake websites that look exactly like the original ones, right? But they are fake, right? So that is spoofing and sniffing. All right. So then a spoofed. Okay, that's a spoof. Let's look about sniff. So a sniffer program is a popular way to grab it as it passes over transmission lines, regardless of whether they are hardwired or wireless. So there are these guys that more like wired, that when information is traveling through a certain conduit, then somehow they've got a way of decrypting the information, then they can steal it, right? Then there's what we call denial of services attack. They are usually called DOS, DOS, right? DOS attack. So these ones, all right, so it's more like it's more like the hacker, right? It uses a certain okay, what they do when they're using denial of service, right? A hacker gets access to what? To a certain server or a certain website of a company. Then they deny access, right? They deny to everyone, and then they say, for you guys to gain access maybe to the website, or gain access to the internet, or gain access to this, then we need you guys to pay up, right? So that is another form of attack. Then computer crime. This includes a lot now. Computer crime, you can't just, because there's a lot of crime, like that's why this talking about computer crimes, crimes that can be committed during when someone's on the internet, right? And then there's what we call identity theft, right? Where some people, they steal your information, right? It's more like what happens in real life when a person leaves maybe their ID somewhere, right? And then someone might take that ID and then commit a crime and then leave the ID on purpose, right? Just, it was an identity theft, right? It's more like they are trying to make the police to go the wrong way. They'll follow the wrong person because their identity was left on a crime scene, right? So that's the same thing again on the internet. There are people that steal an identity theft. So if they know maybe your login details, if they know maybe your financial information and so forth, your address, they can use that to do whatever they want, right? Because it won't trace back to them. Then there's click fraud, especially it comes with advertisement, right? So basically you need to be very careful on what you click, you know those adverts and so forth. So you need to be very, very, very. That's all to do. You just have to choose 5 from all of these, and then you explain, right? So this one you can just explain in relation to, they just said, to the interconnected world. So they're talking about smart cities. So somehow you can just find, so remember you see that information is not okay, let's see, not quite adequate. Then you can go on ResearchGate, and then you can what do you call it, try to find 1 or 2 things. So let's see, vulnerabilities of smart cities. All right. Okay, let's see. What is it? Oh, document. All right, let's see. Let's see. All right, yes, that's a document. So security vulnerabilities, they list them here. All right. Yeah, they just Okay, no. This one's a little bit off, right? This one is a little bit off because now they are talking at a much complex level, right? They're no longer talking of the vulnerabilities due to connecting to the internet. Yeah, of course it is, but off, because now they're talking, like, for example, here they're saying the third vulnerability in the smart city systems are typically large and complex in interface with many developers. So you see it's not talking whether there might be hackings and blah 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 blah. It's a bit complicated. Let's see. You see now, this one is a diagram, but at least it can show you that there are malwares, there are DOS, denial of service attacks. There are, for example, here there are phishing. Phishing was not, it's another part. Again, they didn't put it in your IKM, but phishing is another one. Spoofing that we're talking about. You see, is there. So here now it's a diagram, but at least it's showing you things that we're talking about. That's the reason why I was saying this one is a bit complicated. Let's see on this one. So it's information that you can find, right? I'm just trying to show you that this information that you can find on the internet, right? All right. Okay. So you see DOS, phishing, spoofing, many the middle attack. So there are many of them. So your study guide didn't write all of them, right? But we just took some, right? So there's attack, identity theft. This is identity theft, right? And so forth. So it's information that you can find. So I just wanted to show you that You can find it. If you see that you can't find it from the journals, you just go directly, right? You just go directly. But you see, I don't usually tell people to do that. I think you already know, right? This should be the last slide, because taking information from websites. What if the information that you're taking is wrong, right? That's the reason why at university they want you to view what is called peer review. What do you call it? All right. So can you see? So there's what they call identity theft, device hijacking. This is hacking, right? Denial of services, right? DOS. There are so many, right? So here they explain what the middle is. The identity theft is, hacking, what it is, DOS is, and so forth, right? So just want to show you that it's fine. Then let's do another question. Discuss measures to ensure system availability regarding smart cities. So let's see system availability. So you see that there's a topic called ensuring system availability. You have to write this in relation to smart cities, right? So we're talking about availability. Now this deep IT stuff, right? Let me see. Because thinking of something, but I don't want to say something when it's not under the same. Okay, so it's under security. All right. So when they're talking about a system availability, we're talking about in case of failure. It might include in case of failure, right? You need to have a backup. You getting what I'm saying, right? You need to have a backup, maybe in case maybe your hard drive crashes. Do you have backup? Do you have another way of accessing the same information? So that's where the issue of availability, right? In case of emergency, do you have a second option to access the same information that you were accessing before? So now the reason why I say I wanted to check for is normally this is done in cloud computing, right? That maybe in case maybe one instance that you'll be using in cloud computing might go down, you might have another instance in for you. It's more like it's a backup, right? For you to use maybe later on. So when we're talking about systems availability, so some of the things that you need to take into account is what we call load balancing, right? So load balancing, what we're talking about is I think we need to draw, because at least if I can explain to you what it is. So let's say they are so it's a cloud, right? And then you are supposed to be accessing, maybe they call them instances, maybe where your information in the cloud, they call it instances, right? So let's say that there are 3 people from your company, right? So these 3 instances will allow you to access maybe a website from the company, right? Let's say this website, right? But it will be on the background. You won't see, because there will be, these 3 will be giving access, right? Access to that website. So maybe there are 3 employees, right? So what happens now, if the first employee logs in, right? Maybe there might be something that will act as a fronter, right? Maybe something that will allow access to these 3 instances. So first employee wants to access the website, right? This thing, it's called a load balancer, yeah. We're talking about load balancing, right? So this thing will be a load balancer, right? So what it does is it will know that there is no instance that is being used. So it assigns this first employee on this instance, right? Then this second one, they want to access. This load balancer knows that there is an instance that is what is being used. So it doesn't assign it to that this person to this instance. So it looks for another instance that is free, then assigns this to this employee. Then another employee, when they come to access again, then the load balancer knows that there's the last, right? Then it pushes them here. So it's more like it's balancing the load so that the system does not, does not feel like this instance feel like it's being overused. All these three can't use this instance. They can, but it will the CPU utilization will be very high. So basically, it needs to balance the load. So this load balancer, that's what it does, right? Then redundant servers mirroring. So basically, what it says, like I was telling you, in case let me use another illustration, right? We are saying that let's say the company that you are working at, right? They've got servers. I think some of you guys, because most of these companies these days, they've got data centers, right? They've got servers and so forth. So some companies might have centers on where there's maybe an IT facility, but most of the companies these days are going online in cloud computing. So let's assume that this company, right? This company here, there's two servers, right? But this server is a redundant server, right? It has same information as this server. So normally when the employees are working, they access information from this server, right? But in case that maybe they go somehow, or maybe it crashes, right? There's a backup server, right? Which has same information as this one, so that when this fails, the company still is redirected to the redundant server. So it's redundant. It's more like it's not working, but it's working. It works in case, because it has to give availability. We're talking about availability, right? So then clustering. Clustering, I think maybe was this one. I think I might lie, but I think it involves companies, right? Maybe trying to put instances together, right? It's more like it's a repeating what I was trying to show from redundant server mirroring, where they might have instances that may be together, right? That in case of failure, there might be the company might have still access to information that they might have. Let's see if we say clustering systems availability, right? Was that's what you what to be talking about? All right. All right. So yeah. So that's about. Let's see another. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, exactly. I think this is a very good. That's what I was saying to tell you, right? When I was talking in terms of the redundant, what do you call it, server mirroring, right? So a high availability cluster, also called a failover cluster, right? It uses multiple systems that are already installed, configured, and plugged in. If a failure causes one of the systems to fail, another can seamlessly leverage to maintain the availability. Can you see the way the availability is coming back again? Availability of the service or application being provided. So basically, that's what all these are doing, right? Load balancing, it allows availability, redundant availability, clustering availability, storage area network. It allows again for availability. So what you are doing was, remember, it's 16 marks, right? You are now describing these four. How load balancing allows availability, right? Let's see load balancing availability. So that at least you can load balance high availability. Let's see. Okay. Okay. The load balancers provide high availability. I think this one will be good. Yes. So the load balancer, right? How it allows availability, right? They say that it is a key component that ensures high availability, right? And then the load balancer intelligently routes client request to the right server. You see that illustration showing you, right? To the right server that may be free at that particular time in a manner that maximizes the performance. Because I was telling you, instead of all the clients going to one instance, because it will compromise the performance. So what it does, it knows that that server or that instance it's not being used. So it then redirects the client there in order to maximize performance and capacity utilization, which is CPU utilization, right? While sending requests only to servers that are online. So basically, that you can find. I just wanted to show you, if you say load balancer availability, you can find that information. So what you're supposed to do is you go and you can build. I think the six skills you guys have already showed you. You just go and then you can research, right, on how you can build from this one, from this frame that you have been given, right? Then the second part is smart cities include majority of wireless connectivity. It is becoming more important to users to protect their data. Electronic transmission as wireless networks and their access points proliferate around smart cities. Explain any two protection measures. So this is too much. We don't need to talk much. So protection. Now we're talking about this part. Technologies and tools for protecting information resources. So access control, you won't use access control. Access control, when you're talking about access control, your computer, right? It requires a password to go for you to access information in that computer. So it's access control. Your phone, some of you guys, your phones, they require fingerprint system, Facebook, or maybe pattern recognition. Pattern or password, I don't know, whatever security thing that you have put on your computer, right? On your phone. So that is access control. But normally, this you don't use this one on smart cities because basically, remember, internet. This one doesn't involve internet much. You don't need internet to unlock your phone. Even if the internet is down, it's just access control. It's denying you access to something. It's not that you are connected to the internet. But now, when we're talking about the internet, now we're talking about firewalls, right? Intrusion detection systems. We're talking about antivirus. You choose from these three, right? So you can either use intrusion detection systems or firewalls, or you can use antivirus, or you can use what is called unified threat management systems, or you can use so basically, firewall, what it does is let me explain these things before, just when you're writing, you know what it is. A firewall, I don't know, you know, I'm not so sure if some of you guys, these things are, you have them at your workplaces, but there are some workplaces where they say you don't have access to Facebook when you're at work. You can access Facebook. The moment you go outside your company premises, you go on Facebook. But as long as you are using the network of the company, right, connected to the internet of the company, you can't access Facebook, you can't access Twitter, you can't access the social media platforms. What allows that to happen is what is called a firewall. So what a firewall does is it can allow traffic. When we're talking about traffic, we say when you are requesting maybe to go on Facebook, when you say when I say like this, okay. So when I type here, they say Facebook, right? And then I press enter. So I have sent traffic from this computer to the Facebook server, requesting to gain access to their website, right? So they call it traffic, right? So what a firewall is when traffic comes from the company going to the internet, because remember what is called the internet. I don't know if you knew this. Internet, right? It's the reason why it's called internet. It's because it's a network of computers, right? It's a network of computers. So what you okay? One thing that you didn't know, when you type that, when you say Google, you are actually typing an IP address of what do you call it, of the Google server. Do you remember that last year? Was it last year? I think it was last year. I want to show you something because that's where the issue of the firewalls come in. You remember last year there was this day when people couldn't access their Gmail, they couldn't access their Google, the Google search engine, access YouTube, anything that was associated with Google, they couldn't access it. If you remember last year, right? But if you'd go on Facebook, you would manage to yeah, one of you guys remembers it, right? But if you would go on another website, you would gain access, but somehow Google you couldn't. The reason why you couldn't is that's what we're talking about. I want to show you that what is called the internet is you'll be talking to computers. It's only computers that are talking to each other, right? Though you are now using the word Facebook, but that Facebook, the word Facebook itself, there's an IP address that will be behind. So the reason why people couldn't access Google is because the servers at Google were, right? So you couldn't communicate. You couldn't. It's more like in real life, right? There is a house next door. Then somehow the house vanishes. You don't know where it has gone, right? You are like, but a moment ago the house was there. We saw it, but nothing came to destroy it or something. It just vanishes from no IP address, because that address would have vanished, right? It wouldn't be leading you anyway. So that's what happened. Because now you will be communicating with the computer. So it's my computer communicating with a server at Facebook. It's my computer communicating with a server at Google. So it's more like computers that are talking to each other, right? So what happens with firewalls now is when the company wants to communicate with the outside network, with computers that are not within their network, right? So what it does is the firewall allows what the company can access. So they can fine tune it to a certain extent that they can say, you are not allowed to go on Facebook. You are not allowed to go on YouTube. You're not allowed to go on Twitter. So there are certain IP addresses that they can restrict. They can tell you, you can send information to this website, but you can't get it. So that's what a firewall does. So it's more like it protects. It's a wall that protects traffic that comes out and that goes into the company. So it can be tuned. So that firewall can help. So it can, how it helps is if a hacker, because remember every hacker has more like an identity on what do you call it? They might hide it, but somehow because it's traffic coming in, it can see that something is trying to come, though they might not maybe see the address, but it can see that something is trying to come in. So the firewall can detect that there's something that's coming, and then it can stop it. That's the same thing with what intrusion detection system does, right? So they just identify these things that want to come in, and then like here, when a hacker is trying to attempt to get in, it can stop. Then antivirus, I think you guys already know what antivirus is. That is anti-spyway are, like one of the most secure antivirus system called Bitdefender. So there's Bitdefender, one of the best. Then there's Avira, Avast. You've got Kaspersky. You've got so many of them, McAfee, and so forth. All those antiviruses, they are used, right, to protect your computers from this right? So those are some of the things that will be needed. Right? That will be needed to protect some of the information. So guys, okay. I think for today, guys, I think that will be fine. Let me just run through this very quickly, right? So that at least maybe we can finish this question paper and then we'll be done. I won't take much time, right? So question 3, big data has huge potential to increase and make use of smart city services. Discuss 5 areas in city where big data analysis is the biggest impact. Will we find this information in the study? I doubt. Big data. I doubt. This is information that you might not find in the study. Okay, it's interesting. Big data is there, so there might be. So we have areas. There's the 5 areas where we can get. No. Okay. Yeah, because I was doubting if we could find that. Yeah. I don't think this information is here. That one. But you can easily find it on the internet, right? Let's go on the search gate. Find so 5 areas in a smart city where big data analysis is biggest, right? So here just change to say, okay, so this one is really good. The role of in smart cities, how big data is this for here? All right, so here he's talking about some of the things. So one of the areas is what we call predictive data analytics, right? So here in this case, it in terms of happy crime, right? Where they can predict the exact location. They can even, the good thing about these artificial intelligence things, the reason why they're called artificial intelligence, because these things, they are so intelligent that sometimes they can even predict things that people can't even think that they would. That's why people are always afraid that maybe in future the robots are going to take over, right? Because let's see. No. Applications of big data, smart grid. Yes, that's what we want. We want 5 areas in a smart city where big data is the biggest impact. So this is very good. So big data can be used to do what is called smart grid, right? Grid, we're talking about electricity, right? So the rapid distribution of smart grid data enable decisions to integrate, analyze, and use real-time power generation and consumption data. Okay, let's see. All right, so the efficient use of big data collected from a smart grid can help decision makers come up with a wide terms of the supply level of electricity while fulfilling the demands of the user. So this is what you want. So, you know, if it was in an exam, you would come and you, because it's not the study guide, you would come and you take, how many are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, are they 5? There are 4 here, right? Then you would rephrase in your own words, right? You would rephrase. Remember, you don't copy and paste. You rephrase what you read here, you just rephrase and put it into your own words. But this is what they're talking about, how the big data will work. So it will help decision makers, right, in providing with analytics, right, where they can predict power supply in the future, right? So they can predict, you know, when a failure might happen, predict, you know, funny that might happen. So it can also be used in what is called in healthcare, right, where proper analytics tools can allow healthcare specialists to collect and analyze patients' data, which can likewise be used in insurance agents and administration organization, right? So this data can help to predict epidemics, diseases, as well as improve quality of life and afford preventable death. Like, let me give another good example. There are guys who are creating what is called the fastest computer, called a quantum computer, right? So they are saying if that computer, when it starts to function, they will say that chances of many diseases being cured, they're saying that the chances are very high, because it does computation of big data, right, in a very short period of time. So some of those people, they were actually saying, you know, that type of a computer can be used in healthcare because it's very smart, right? It's very smart, and you know, it is intelligent, so they can be used to predict, they can be used to even to cure certain things. So smart transportation, again, the data generated from transport can be used to operate movements, right? It can also help to consolidate shipments and optimize shipping movements by reducing supply chain wastage. So remember, I don't know if you guys maybe this is MBA, right? I think you do. Do you have courses in supply chain? I think so. Let me see. I think you do have supply chain MBA. So if maybe if it's not an elective course, you have to find out that supply chain. It's not. It's when companies are doing logistics, there are actually complex models that are actually involved. You know, Gamma just doesn't say, we're importing things from, you know, from KwaZulu Natal there, and we are they say, you guys just find a long track and then put stuff there, and then put it on the road, and then come. No, that's not how it's done. You know, there's actually some models called transportation models, where they are actually calculating, you know, the fastest route and so forth, blah 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 blah. So now, big data, too much information that is collected, right? And they've got computers that are work things very fast. They can actually optimize, because that's what companies want. They want to minimize costs while least maximizing profits. So optimizing would be the best, right? Because you know, sometimes money might be wasted where you could have. So they're trying to say, let's try to avoid wasting money where we can save money. So that's why, you know, that's where this big data might be used, right? Then governance. Let's see. I'm talking about smart governance. So big data analytics can help governments establish and implement satisfactory policies, because they are already familiar with the needs of the people in terms of health, social care, education, and so forth. So basically, these are some of the things that happen, right? So even governments will come to a place where, you know, maybe artificial intelligence can be making decisions, right? Because those things, they normally, intelligence, our intelligence can, it is a threshold, but you know, artificial intelligence, you know, that's why they are saying it might be threat in the future, because it keeps on learning and learning and learning, and it's so good, right? Let me give an example to show how good these things are. There was this other software that was Google, called Go, right? Go. So it's a board game like chess, but it's a Chinese board game. So that game is so difficult that even when people are playing, two people are playing, yeah, it really needs masters, right? So what happened is these guys from Google, they created intelligence that can play that game. And you know, it was playing with a person, and I think out of 5 games, it won 4, if not 3, right? And it was playing with such precision that the best of the best in the whole world were saying, this thing is it's beyond intelligence. So those things, they don't make mistakes, right? The more they learn, they get good at it, right? So sometimes governments, they might say, you know, we might be bad at making decisions, so let's allow intelligence to do that, right? Then question 4, elaborate on we need 5. I need the 5th one. I think, guys, I think I showed you how to. So I think the 5th one, you might be able to find it, right? Because of time, I think I might not really sift through all of this, but I think most of the things I've managed to all right, to show you, right? So elaborate on any 5 ways that cloud computing connects citizens with cities and business, improves IT, blah 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 blah. So these are the advantages of 5 ways of okay. Let's say cloud computing. Cloud computing. All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay. All right. So it looks like it might not be 5 ways. 5 ways in which cloud computing, right? So it's more like we're talking about the advantages. We're talking about the advantages of cloud computing. In smart cities. Remember, we're talking about right, in a smart city. Yeah. So you can see, guys, you can see that this information is, let's talk about the role. It's similar. So this question is similar with this, right? The role of big data in smart city, and also the role of cloud computing. Or this is the request document. Okay. The role of cloud computing, blah 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 blah. Let's see. I didn't really do justice, because this is where they're talking about the role, but they didn't talk much. We're talking about the advantages, right, of cloud computing. So this comes, some of the things that that might come with the use of cloud computing is what we talk about scalability, right? Just explaining now while it's on trying to put some of it's scalable. When we're talking about scalable is when more like when the amount of people that are accessing a certain instance or certain service increases, automatically cloud computing it scales up on its own without people maybe intervening. Let's see. Because of time here, let's concentrate with the. All right, so why is cloud computing important for so advantages of cloud computing? That's what we're talking about, right? You see, we're talking about scalability. You see, it gives scalable, their cost savings, and the security, right? But let's see. Smart cities needs to be on the cloud. This one must be good. All right, so basically that's what we're talking about, right? Scalable, you save costs and blah blah blah. Those ones are generic, right? But we want that are able to. All right, so it allows what? It allows efficient data, right? Because there's mass flow of data, so because they change, so you need now to be consistent with those changes and be efficient. And so cloud is really good when it comes to handling that. Then support to sustainability factor. Because remember, this information is not in the study guide. So what we are discussing here is not the only way that you are to answer. You might even find another site or maybe another journal, right, that might be talking about something which might be different, right? So we talked about cost saving, right? Reduction in cost, it boosts the economy, right? Because these technologies, they're efficient. So in return, they boost the economy by bringing out maybe huge profit, right? Sustainability sector, right? Because now they're becoming smart. There is no more wastage, right? So the decision making is perfect, the planning is perfect, management is perfect. So chances of having, wastage, it's what? It's now they've reduced. So you just have to find 5 ways in which we just have to talk about the importance of cloud computing in a smart city, right? Then the last question is cloud is experiencing an evolution of smart cities. Discuss in detail any 2 examples of smart cities around the world that service offered by it. Remember when I was talking that there are some countries that already have smart cities, right? So this information definitely this information you won't find it on the study guide. So let's say examples of smart cities, right? So, all right. So if you are to see, you see that most of these countries they are in the what they call the Western region, West, right? The West, we're talking about America, we're talking about Europe, right? The European nations. So there's what we call Singapore. Singapore, Singapore is it? Country. Guys, help me. Is Singapore a country? Yes. Now you see, Singapore is a country. So we're talking about the one city, right? So just find maybe the capital, Singapore, right? Singapore is one of the most advanced countries in the world. Singapore, Japan, China is, it's only that China is too big, but China is also advanced. Then there is some nations in Europe, like so France. Then there are some regions in the US. But when I'm talking about advancement, we know Singapore. Singapore is up there, right? So the Singapore, there's Oslo. I don't know where this country is, where this city is. Then there's New York, right? There's London. Then there's Copenhagen, right? So these are not the only smart cities, but these are some of smart cities, right? So basically, I don't have time to maybe to with this one. I don't know by my knowledge doesn't. I don't know by head. Some of how London is good, a smart city, but I think you can find time maybe later on so that you can go read maybe wherever you find, so that at least you can. Because here they want you to discuss. Can you see? Discuss in detail the two. So what happens is, if you choose Singapore, you need to describe how, like in this case, right? How Singapore is using, how smart city is coming out, right? So Singapore consistently tops the list of the world's smartest cities, no matter how they are rated. Like I was telling you, that Singapore is way advanced, right? So what they do, these guys, is the government is focused on digital technologies, right? Let's see how they use. So this has included the move to digital healthcare system. So it means they digitalize the healthcare system, normalizing video consultations as well as IoT devices to monitor patients remotely. Okay, guys, I don't know, some of you guys, I don't know if you have what we call smartwatches. Nowadays this trend, people are buying, the Apple Watch, Samsung Gear, there's this other phone that is coming up. They've got the Redmi, the Redmi watch, blah blah blah, and so forth, right? So those wearables, they collect data, and then that data is then maybe connected to your phone. But in this case, when it is to the health system, the wearables, they are connected to the health system to monitor. So instead of coming to the hospital to be checked of blood pressure, they can just wear a smartwatch at home, and that data, because remember, they communicate through the internet, then that data is being recorded in that person's what do you call it, database, right? Singapore does. So Singapore also, they digitally collect information throughout the city using sensors. So the sensors, they collect a massive amount of information about what citizens do on a daily basis, and they can measure everything from how clean a certain area is to how crowded an event is. So basically, just giving me a rough idea of the smartness of the city, the smart city of Singapore. And so you then choose another one, and then you explain how the issue of the smart city is coming out from, right? Then the last part is Internet of Things is revolutionizing the way smart cities function. Briefly explain any 5 applications of IoT in a typical smart city. I think this one is not going to be hard, right? So just say application. You won't find that one. You won't find it in your study guide. IoT in right. So in example here is LED lighting controls, surveillance cameras, environmental sensors, electronic bill, charging stations, and Wi-Fi coverage. The reason why I'm laughing is because of this. It's good sometimes to be backward. Yes, the reason why I'm saying so is, when I was talking about smart cities in this lecture, I gave an example of how China is also one of the countries that have got smart cities. I know most people like the West, they don't like China so much, so they don't publicize a lot of technology that happens in China. China is one of the most advanced countries in the world, right? I know our media, they have got bias. Most of the time they're just talking about the West American software. But that's why you see most of the gadgets that these iPhones, they're made in China. If you bought an iPhone, check where it's made from. They don't say it's made from US. They're made from China. All the Samsungs, what they are made from China, right? Then it's only companies that would have agreement with most of the plants in China. I know someone might say it's because maybe there's cheap labor there. No, but not apart from cheap labor. Those guys, they've got look at like that phone that I was telling you about called Redmi, right? It's a very, very, very good brand, and they competitor of iPhone, right? It also imitates iPhone. There's a certain time you can tune that phone to be exactly like an iPhone. So China is very, very, very advanced. The reason why I'm talking about surveillance cameras, China, they've got a certain city. I'm not so sure if it's the whole country, but I know of a certain city, right? If you can go Google on that, right? Where they've got surveillance cameras everywhere. When I mean everywhere, in the streets, right? Not, of course, in the houses they don't have, but I mean, as long as it's a public place, they've got cameras. So what those cameras does is they spot everyone from every angle. And they've got a record of everyone in the government database. And that record includes who we want incriminated, whether you want went to jail, when what. Everything will be so plain to the government. That's why you see most of the people, they say there's not much privacy in China. That's why people they don't more like appreciate what is called communism, right? It's because of that, because the state now is more like it's in control of the people, right? It's the state that controls the people. It's not people having the freedom, but it's the state detecting things and so forth. So that's so the type of technology, right, that China will be using surveillance cameras is because of what is called Internet of Things. Right? It's part of IoT application, right? Where you can connect all those cameras from, just imagine, cities in China, they are big. Remember, China is one of the most populated, I mean, one of the most populated places upon the face of the earth. Their cities will be like so big, right? In those cities, just imagine there are cameras in every street, in almost every corner. So just imagine the amount of data that will be generated. So it needs Internet of Things. So those are some of the applications, right? So just have to go maybe and find Flash on that, right? So guys, thank you so much. I'm happy if there is a question regarding maybe what we've covered today, or maybe big question, so forth. But I want to believe this has been straightforward, and the manner in which these questions were articulated in this question papers, questions will come like that. I'm not saying exactly as in like you know, the manner, but I mean like roughly how they ask the questions. It's going to be the same. If you start the case study, and then they want you to answer in relation. So don't just answer generic questions when they're asking you to answer in terms of or in relation of the case study, right? All right, no, that's fine. You're welcome, guys. I see Sakami saying thank you. You're welcome. And I also want to thank you for your patience. Last week, you know, we had a mishap, but we were just patient. So thank you so much. Wish you all the best, guys. With all the research skills that we managed to give you, I'm wishing you distinctions. And I know you'll get distinctions, guys. So go and show your lecturers that we know our things. All right. All the best. Have a lovely evening.